Hey guys, Gamer Candy here. Today I'm bringing you a Danger Blue Eyes deck profile that I took to locals last weekend. I went ahead and took first place after 4 rounds of Swiss and then 1 elimination round. I'm really impressed with how this deck went. It went really well. Did a lot of things I expected it to do really well, and other things really just sort of came up that were just really cool. Before I talk about what's in the deck, I'll actually talk about the matchups, if that's alright. If not, you can skip ahead. So first of all, the round 1 was against a Mega Turbo. Basically what he does is he summons Junk Speeder, a whole bunch of tuners, and then makes a Mega at least 3 times, and he can make it a 4th time as well and loop 4 cards out of my hand, and he did that on the first game. So I started with 2 cards in hand, and I managed to summon Bigfoot and still get through. So turns out that despite the fact that I didn't have any cards in my hand, I was able to out 3 2800 attackers, just because of how that works. Not thick enough or something, I guess. Yeah, so I got hand loop for the next game, and he took me out with all the Omegas. I did draw into my Chaos Hunter eventually with Danger Zone, but I wasn't able to summon that Chaos Hunter because he didn't actually summon any more monsters. He knew he had game already. In the last game, I'm not really sure what happened, but I did end up winning that one to go 2-1. Then I played against a Lair of Darkness deck. I didn't really get a good look at this deck, but mostly it seemed to just play all of the Lair of Darkness cards. So it played Full Force Virus at least, it played Lair of Darkness, it played Ariba, the dog that can search the dog that can draw a card or search the field spell and trigger Diabolos and Grave, and then you've got Lilith, which can search the trap, and ended up setting a chain disappearance and threatening my stones with the chain disappearance. He ended up resolving Full Force Virus on me, which took all the Bigfoots out of my hand and all the stones as well, which is actually kind of good for the stones, but not so much for the Bigfoots. I lost so many Bigfoots that day. Oof. But yeah, we still managed to win that one. After that, we played against the Sky Striker Invoked Mech Knight deck. Well, apparently, I never actually saw the Sky Strike Mech Knight. Mostly I just saw his hand going back into his deck. So basically what I did is I summoned Dark Matter and a Morphage turn 1 with a Return Engrave, I think. And when he drew for turn, he decided to scoop up his cards and immediately shuffle his deck and go for the siding. So that was game 1. As far as game 2 went, he sided 13 cards in and 13 cards out. He actually smokescreened into Trickstar Skystrike, and I really wish I could have seen the other half of the deck that I didn't end up seeing. If he managed to get the draw combo off, he would have won that game most likely, but it didn't shake out that way, so he didn't get draw combo on me. The next deck I played against was Pure Skystriker, which I 2-0'd. Unfortunately for him, I managed to open Soul Charge the first game. That was a blowout. I summoned Hope Harbinger and a Morphage Goliath, and he couldn't out that. In fact, no. If I recall correctly, he did out that, but it cost him too many resources, and at that point I was able to attack for all this damage. In the second game, a bit more grindy. I believe he went first. He opened Ray into Shizuku, which meant that was a brick for him. And then he searched he had 2 set cards and he searched the Engage. Yeah, I ended up summoning a Tachyon Dragon and attacking into his Shizuku, and he wasn't able to summon Ray, otherwise he would have taken a whole bunch more damage. And yeah, a lot of really cool interactions there. I actually made Skull Dread twice in that duel because he bounced it back with a Caching Magician. Yeah, it was an interesting duel. I really liked that one. So that was technically the last duel of the Swiss rounds, and then I was told to do a playoff for the final round, and that was against Toadally Floodgate is what I've got written down here. Basically it was just Paleo Frogs with a bunch of Goes and Match and Rivalry and Strikes and Warnings and Judgments. So I ended up winning this duel 2-1 in time. So we both won 1 game, and in the last game I was staring down 2 toads and I couldn't do anything. I had about 3 seconds after my main phase started and time was called. In terms of the time rules, I did actually win that game because I'd done way more damage than him. Yeah, so there's that. I do feel really bad about the basically undeserved win at the end there. But otherwise everything went really fun. And in fact that last duel was so much. I've never actually played such an interesting game of Yu-Gi-Oh with a Blue Eyes deck. and versus a paleo deck. And Blue Eyes should typically just summon alternative and just cry the whole time, which did not happen. I fought my guts out. Anyway, alright, so I guess we'll get into the deck profile. Okay, so starting off with the monsters, it's fairly self-explanatory, but I've got 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons. 3 different rarities just to annoy people, because it does annoy people apparently to have 3 different rarities. I've got a Deucer rare, I've got an Ultimate rare, and I've got an MVP rare, which is the movie pack gold secret. Yeah, so basically you just want enough Blue Eyes to be able to get enough pluses off of Skull Dread and Whitestone. I'll explain that later, what that means. Yeah, you gotta play 3. Next we have our alternative dragons. I should have played 3. I don't own 3 anymore. I used to have 3, but I sold 1 because I figured that I was only ever playing 2. Because I typically would just summon the 1, and if I open more than 1, I would just cry, because if you can't do anything with 2 of these cards, so there's that. 1 Dragon Spirit of White. This is pretty standard to have at least 1. A lot of people play 2. I like the 1 because it's a brick, and you just don't want to see him that often. Yeah, but he's good otherwise. So next we have our Goliath combo. There are still some people out there that don't know what this does, so I will explain it. Basically what Archbrave Dragon does is, the turn he was sent to the graveyard, the next standby phase afterwards, he can summon any level 7 or 8 dragon from the graveyard during the standby phase. So he targets this, which is a level 8 dragon, which says neither player can special summon from the extra deck except Morphage monsters. So this is a domain of the True Monarchs or whatever. In fact, it doesn't even have a tribute summoning thing that you can get around, but you have to get rid of this guy or negate his effects or flip him face down to be able to summon from the extra deck, and so do I actually. It's both for both players. But if you summon this from the graveyard, you can banish all the spell and trap cards in the field, so it's really good against like pendulums and certain things. But yeah, these are cool guys. Next we get into our danger cards, starting with Danger, Bigfoot. Danger. Right, so Danger Bigfoot, he's a big boy, he's got 3,000 attack. How all the dangers work is I'll just explain them really quickly, because some of my opponents were confused as well. So let's say I've got 3 cards in my hand. Basically what I'll say is I'll activate Bigfoot, okay, and then I'll put him back into my hand. You don't know where he is anymore, and we'll roll a die, or you'll just pick randomly, to discard one of these cards. And then if you discard the card and it's Bigfoot, nothing happens, and then his trigger effect can activate where he destroys a face-up card on the field. That's an optional, and it's only opponent's cards as well, by the way. So yeah, but if the discarded card is not a Bigfoot, then you summon Bigfoot and you draw a card to replace the card you discarded. So they're actually quite good. They're just like little alternative dragons that you can summon out. So yeah, really happy with Bigfoot. You trade him in to pop stuff, you melody him away to pop stuff, or you just summon him to make rank 8s. Yeah, really cool. The next card we're looking at is Danger Nessie. You play 3 of this girl, or guy, or whatever. It's an aqua. Basically what this does is allows you to synchro the start of Spark Dragon. Oh, hype. If you discard it off of Melody, you get a plus, just like if you were to discard Whitestone of Legend and get that Blue Eye search. This allows you to get a search for any danger card, which is better. So you can search for the Trap, Jackalope, or Bigfoot. And yeah, those options are quite good, depending on what you want to do. So, really good card. Next up, we've got our Danger Jackalope. So Danger Jackalope, the main combo with him is to discard him off Melody. If you discard him off Melody, he summons any danger from the deck, so you can either summon the level 7. If you are getting ashed, and you only have a level 1 in your hand to synchro with, you can make Stardust Spark and pass. Something like that, or if you are able to get that Melody through, which you will know before you activate this effect, so it'll be like Melody, discard, Ash, okay, so now I'll summon level 7, or it's Melody, discard, no Ash, okay, so I'll summon the level 8, and then you might get Mind Crush and then you just cry. Anyways, Jackalope's really fun, and you can just summon him to get a material out to be able to make a link play, or you could just use that discard effect to get a summon from the deck. Really good card. Next up is Keeper of the Shrine. This guy is the MVP of the grind game. He's got 2100 defense, so he's a thick boy. He actually counts as 2 tributes for a tribute summon of a dragon type monster, which makes him an even thicker boy, and that's how I won one of my games against a Toad player. I had this on the field. I'd used all the cards in my hand, and once I used the last card from my hand and field, he activated Toad to negate, and had to take Toad off the field, and then I managed to basically I just activated a white stone in the grave and added Blue Eyes back and tribute summoned and attacked for 3000, which ended the game. That was a fun one. But yeah, no, really cool card. He protects your dragons. Basically, if your dragons get destroyed, he can summon himself from either the hand or the graveyard. And if the monster that was destroyed is a normal monster, or at least it counts as a normal monster in the graveyard, he can add any normal monster from your graveyard to your hand. And yeah, that's an addition to his first effect. Cool, cool guy. So next up we've got our stones. I went for a 2-1 ratio today. Probably should have gone for 3-1, but you know, that's how we do. The stones are really good cards, you just need to use them. Obviously you need at least 1 stone of legend and 1 stone of this, and I just went for 2 today because you can discard these for danger effects and get pluses and that sort of thing. Yeah, really good cards. Cool. Alright, so the next we've got is the Eyes of Blue monsters. So we've got our 3 Sage, which can search our stones, our effect veilers on the side, or our Master. And Master, who has a really good synergy with Link Karibo. Basically, you know, Sage searches Master. On a subsequent turn, Master summon. You can Link summon for Link Karibo, and then you can use his effect Engrave to send a Link Karibo to graveyard to summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon, or something like that from the grave, which is really handy. And then you'll have a Sage in hand as well to search out whatever, or just to have as a tuner. And obviously if he shuffles into the deck, you can search him again. Yeah, so that synergizes really well. These guys are pretty essential. But you can side them out if you're siding in like sphere mode or something like that. So that's it for the monsters, and now for the spells. We've got our 3 Melody of Awakening Dragon. This card obviously searches your Blue Eyes, if everyone knows what it does. I wish it could search the Chaos Emperor Dragon. I really am keen to see Chaos Emperor Dragon come to the TCG, and not only to the TCG, but to become inexpensive and not just a prize card. I might end up buying a prize card version of him. I don't know. Depends how pricey he gets. Just the 1 copy, but anyway. Yeah, you can discard Jackalope for this to get an instant rank 8, so discarding Jackalope puts the rank 8 on the board immediately. Discarding Nessie gets you a plus and a search for anything at the same time as you're searching for 2 other cards. This is a +1 with the danger cards. That's how it works. Okay, so then we've got our draw power, our 3 trade-in. Obviously we've got a bunch of level 8s in the deck, and we just love to draw cards. And then we've got our 2 cards of continents for our 3 tuners I think we have, which is searchable. But yeah, these side out every time. Anything that we're sliding in is going to be better than just this inconsistent draw, but it is a good draw to have. So next up we've got our revival spells, our 3 Return of the Dragon Lords, and our 1 Soul Charge. This is what makes Blue Eyes amazing. So the protection effects, level 8 monsters coming in for free with the protection, and Soul Charge, which is insanely good in this deck. Yeah. Next up we've got our 1-ofs again, Pot of Desires and Foolish Burial. Just quickly, Pot of Desires. I like having cards in my deck. Every time I activate this I need to be doing it after Master, because I found that every time I've used this card, it always banishes Master with Eyes of Blue, which I don't want to do. Foolish Burial, a lot of targets for this thing. I prefer to have a Dragon Shrine, because it can send Master with Eyes of Blue, but yeah, Foolish Burial is good. After that we've just got our 1 trap, and our 1 trap is Danger Zone. Danger Zone says draw 3, discard 2. How could you not want to play that? I made good use of this card. This card won me games. Yeah, I like it. Okay, so getting into the extra deck, we start off with our Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon, although I've heard a lot of people call it Twist Burst Dragon for some reason. I'm not really sure what that's about. But yeah, Twin Burst Dragon, basically he can't be destroyed by battle. He can attack monsters twice. You contact fuse him using 2 monsters named Blue Eyes White Dragon on the field. If it doesn't destroy something that it battles, it banishes it. So things that can't be destroyed like Beals, this can get rid of it without no problem. So he's a problem solver. Pretty good. Next up we've got our Synchros. Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. This is the best Blue Eyes Synchro monster. Obviously, you can tag into so many things, as it prevents monsters from being special summoned more than one at a time, so it actually prevents Soul Charge from hitting more than one monster. It actually stops a rematch. It also has a Graveyard Negation, and like I said, it has the tag out to another monster. So the monsters that we can tag out into include Moonlight Dragon, to bounce something back. You can also use this as your material monster to make Crystal Wing, which I didn't do this tournament, and I'm thinking about cutting Crystal Wing in general, but yeah, so you can make Crystal Wing using that, but as I said, it doesn't come up so often, and he's not as good anymore. I think he might be better replaced with a Boral Sword Dragon, something like that. Other than that, we've got our Stardust Spark Dragon. He's our level 8 we can make synchroing with Nessie with our level 1 tuners, or we can use Spirit Dragon to bounce into the Stardust Spark and then use it for a rank 8. And then we have this to revive with Master Leader. But yeah, this is a really cool card, and I summon it surprisingly often. And lastly, we've got our Azure Eyes. You just got to play one Azure Eyes when you need it, and he's here. Okay. Alright, so getting into the rank 8s, we've got our Heriatic Sun Dragon Overlord of Heliopolis, which is a mouthful. Holy crap, that is a long name. Basically, what he does is non-targeting destruction of an unknown number of cards. So you activate this, and your opponent doesn't know how many cards are being destroyed, they don't know which cards are being destroyed, they've got no clue, and this can destroy Boral Dragon because it doesn't target as well. So yeah, really cool card to have, just in the back pocket if something requires the situation. You could replace this as a little Link monster if you like, but I like this guy. And then we've got our number 38, Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy, which is also a mouthful of a name. That's a big theme with rank 8 monsters, I think. Basically what this guy does, it negates a spell card or effect of a spell card. That means a spell card activation or a spell card effect on the field, like a Pendulum Scale effect, or possibly one in the graveyard, or even something like that. He can also redirect attacks to himself, and so he's actually really cool with Link Reaver, who I'll go into a bit later. Basically what happens is you have Hope Harbinger and Link Reaver, and what you do is when your opponent declares an attack against Link Reaver, because they usually do, because you got to get rid of Link Reaver first, we'll activate Hope Harbinger, Chainlink 1, to redirect the attack to him, and then immediately go to damage calculation, and then Chainlink 2, the trigger effect of Link Reaver. These are both trigger effects, so they can activate simultaneously, which means you can pick the order of their chain, and they're both optional. So you tribute Link Reaver. So the monster's attack that's attacking goes to 0, they attack into Hope Harbinger, take 3000 damage, and are destroyed. So it's a pretty hilarious combo to pull off, but yeah, I love this guy, it's cool. Next up we've got our number 107 Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon. Tachyon Dragon is a really cool boy. Basically what he does is he punishes the opponent for any floating effects. I don't see a lot of people summoning him for his effect. I do, all the time. Basically what he does, so during the start of the battle phase, you activate his effect, and then for the rest of that turn, everything on the field is negated. I think it's actually everything is negated forever, except himself. And everything is reduced to its original attack values, is what it says. Then, after that, every time your opponent activates a card effect during the battle phase, he will gain another 1000 attack. And if he does gain 1000 attack at any point, he's able to attack twice as well. So he's quite a big boy, he gets quite big. So what you'll do is you'll summon it against a Beatrice or a Dante, or something that floats, right? Like a Toad. And then when you attack, when they use that floating effect, you can then attack directly for 4000 or something like that. So he's a cool guy. But most of the time what you'll be doing is actually overlaying with him. So you'll summon Dark Matter, and you'll use his effect to, as cost, send 3 dragons with different names from the deck to the graveyard, which is really cool. And then here's the downside. Your opponent then picks 3 monsters from the deck and banishes them. I wish I get to pick, but they get to pick, which means that if you do this against something like Thunder Dragons, against something like Grand Marju, you're going to have a really bad time. So be careful with this effect, who you use it against. But yeah, he can attack monsters twice, he's got 4000 attack, and he looks quite insanely cool. That's this guy. Next up we've got our Link monsters. So we're going to start off with our Link Karibo. Link Karibo is really cool for Blue Eyes decks. Basically what it does is it turns Master into an infinite reborn machine. It turns any stone into an immediate search or add back from the graveyard, or possibly even a summon from the deck at the end phase. He's a really good boy. Yeah, I really like this guy. And what I'll often do when I have the resources to, I'll summon the Link Reboot, and then I'll summon the Nightmare Phoenix behind it, and we'll get that draw effect of the nightmares, and then they can't be destroyed by battle. That's not really relevant, but because you use that effect to tribute anyway. But I did actually do this combo one time against the Paleo deck in the third duel, which was quite interesting. I also managed to make a topologic Trisbana during that duel as well, but we'll get into that. The reason why we have a Nightmare Phoenix is because the Blue Eyes deck can really handle monsters. It is in its prime destroying monsters, and the Phoenix is there for the rest of the stuff that Blue Eyes doesn't cover, which is the spell traps. You need to be able to get rid of some spell traps in your main deck, and this is how we do that here. Another answer to spell traps is topologic Trisbana, and what I learned from playing Trisbana today, so it's a dark monster, this is a dark monster, and all of the danger cards are dark monsters, which means when I'm under Gozen match, I can still make this. And I was under Gozen match at the time when I did make this combo happen. So that was really cool. Ended up being that I had Nessie, Jackalope, and Link Reboot, and I linked all three of those away for Trisbana, and then I had an Effect Veiler in my hand, which I normal set, and then you tribute it for cost, you summon your Link Reboot to one of the link markers, you banish it, and both players, well actually the opponent has to banish all the spell traps, and you have to banish all your spell traps, and then they take 1500 damage, which is pretty hilarious. And I did actually manage to resolve that. It was part of the reason why I had enough life points to win my match against the Paleo player. Yeah, really cool cards here. Finally, we've got Skulldread. Basically, you summon him with Soul Charge, and the combo with him and Soul Charge is that if you have a Soul Charge, you make him. Okay, sure. If you have a Soul Charge and a White Stone of Legend, you're able to do something really cheeky. Let's say that you summoned, let's say that you Soul Charged out these 4 monsters. You link them all away into your Skulldread. Okay, so then you draw a bunch of cards. So you draw this, and then you draw this, and then you draw this, and this. Okay, so the best card here would be to be able to summon Alternative Dragon, but we can't do that. So we've just summoned Skulldread. What we can do, because we just used White Stone of Legend, we have to activate the mandatory effect of that. It's Chainlink 1 before the draw effect, so it goes White Stone of Legend, Chainlink 1, Skulldread, Chainlink 2. You'll draw all these cards, and you'll put back 3, so you put back these 3, including the Blue Eyes. And then once this effect resolves here in the graveyard, you'll just add back that Blue Eyes. So what it does is it basically turns anytime you draw Blue Eyes cards into free extra cards. You're only supposed to draw 1 card from Skulldread, and we got 2. So this just makes Skulldread 1 card better every time, if you're able to pull that off. So yeah, that's a really cool combo with this. Alright guys, that should be all for my deck profile. Thanks for watching, and subscribe. Cheers.